Hi, Marco Di Stefano here. In this video, I'm going to show you all the features of the new Flow Plus application, which has been released with a Flow 2 product since the beginning of March. Flow 2 is made of two components: the template, which is between Vienna and Cubase, and the application for remote control, which is based on open stage control. So this is Flow Plus. I will just put it here on the side to see Vienna and Cubase. For this video, I'm putting everything in just one screen so that I will be able to show you all the features. So let's put these things out. Okay, so when you launch Flow Plus for the first time, you will see mainly an empty window. First of all, it is important to show that here you have different frames. So each one with its title. This one is called for the folders libraries, so that you can switch from folders to libraries. This one is related to instruments. This one is for the Midi tracks. The one in the center is for the contents, and the one at the bottom is for macros. One already important thing is that you can show or hide those things depending on the layout that you want to have. Let's say that to start, I'm going to start only with this one. At this moment, this looks like pretty empty. But if we go there and we click on this button, we will see that all the data will be loaded. So what I can do here? Here I see exactly the same structure of the folders which is in Cubase. So for example, if I go at this level and I close everything and I reopen everything, Cubase will react accordingly. So now let me show you. I close everything, and then for example I want to go in the choir. So you can see here choir ensemble here and then here. So everything that you do here is synchronized on Cubase side. But sometimes you just want to make work here and you don't want Cubase to react, so that's why this button is used. So now the sync is stopped, and so you can do whatever you want. Then you can enable it, and finally you can do it again. So for each of these objects that you see here, you actually have the multiple actions. The actions are the following. The first one is called show only, in the sense that when you click on it, you will see, maybe first let's open everything. So when you click in this one, you will see that in Cubase, it will show only the contents of this folder here, that is Woodwinds family. So you will have the Woodwinds family high and low. And then, for example, if I go there and I say, show me only the strings solo high, voila, then I can see now only the content of the folder string solo high. The second action is a normal show. So it will just incrementally show the folders that you add here. So for example, then I want to see the percussion toys. So I click here and now percussion toys come. The third one, obviously, is to hide. So now that I just added this one, I can hide it. So, and then the last one is about the filters, but for this one, I will come back later on. One important thing is that at this level here, you have a kind of master toolbar. So this will, we already saw that this is actually doing the fold and unfold at master level for all the actions, but the same is for those two. So this will hide all, and this will show all. Very simple. But fact is that sometimes when I start to write music and I already have my content spread over the different tracks, I don't want just to hide everything and lose the focus on my content. So that's why this button is there. When you click it, it will make sure that whatever action you do, your content stay always visible. So now, for example, imagine that you have already created here some content, and then you say, okay, but I want to see inside that folder. So you do the show only. Voila. So the show only will keep the content. Then you can always remove the content and do it again. This time it disappears. All right. those things that we are seeing here, those actions are some generic principle that applies all over the place. So now if, for example, we move into this one here, you can see from the icons here, so this icon there is related to folders. This icon here is related to libraries. So you can imagine that if I enable then, I will see all the libraries that I own that are part of this package, of this product. Of course, it depends on the product that you purchase. Here, I'm working with the professional one that has all those libraries included. As you can see, there is a first level of organization by vendor. So you can say, for example, I want to see only the ones of orchestral tools. You click on it, and you see at this moment there is only the JXL brass actually here. And or you can hide it, or you can say I want to see everything which is Spitfire audio, which of course in that case it will show almost everything. The same thing you can do here. For example, for one specific library, I want to say only the specific percussion redux, so you click there and you got it. Here it is. And then again, the same principle applies. So if you don't want to see the content, you just remove this one and then you say, show me Hans Zimmer strings because I want that sound of Hans Zimmer strings. And then you click here. And then you say, okay, but I want also to add some Spitfire solo strings. So you can add here and the Spitfire solo strings will be added and so on. Then again, when you click here, everything is coming. In this case, you also have the possibility to fold or unfold everything. So, and by default in the libraries, this is disabled, so it doesn't affect. But if you do that, it will be exactly like for the folders. Now, let's activate the second window that contains the instrument. So I'm going to load that. And here it is. These are all the instruments that are part of my template. So you can see here, for example, I would like to do exactly the same action that we saw before. For example, I want to see all my oboe that are in the project. I click here and voila, here they are. Or I want to see all my, where is the, for example, the piccolo trumpet. That's a very specific object and you have it only in this library here. So here it is. And then, okay, of course, we can disable the content so that we only show that track. Same things here for the show. So by clicking on this button, you just incrementally add those instruments or the hide that will remove them. Okay, now there is an important also things that I will introduce. So first of all, yeah, maybe just let's show everything. You can also fold with this folder. For example, you fold all the woodwinds, all the brass, like the other one, and then you can disable the behavior so that it will not apply, exactly like we have already seen. Now let's introduce the concept of filters. For example, here, let's say that, okay, there are a lot of instruments here, but I would like to see only the instruments that are part of maybe the Spitfire symphonic woodwinds. So I click on this button here, and now you see that a filter applied here, Spitfire symphonic woodwinds, and the instruments which are shown here are only part of that library. And then now you will see that, for example, if now I click on flute, show only the flute, it will show only the flute which is part of this library and not all the other ones. So this is very useful when you know that exactly you wanted to have that specific instruments inside that specific library. And then, of course, you can combine this filter also with the folders here. So let's start, for example, with this button that you see here, you reset the filters. So now there is no filter applied. And then I say, okay, I want some filters on just woodwinds, so that here I only see woodwinds things. But at the same time, for example, if now I click on the piccolo flute, you can see that I have piccolo flute from multiple libraries. So then I can say, okay, I just want the piccolo flute from the Spitfire Studio Woodwinds Professional. So I also apply this filter. So now you can see that two filters are applied here. And when I click on piccolo flute now, it's only the one that corresponds to those two filters. Okay, so now again, you can remove the filter. You can see that there is also a filter here in the instruments, and I'm going to show why, for what it's that used. With the third window, you introduce the concept of MIDI tracks. So far we have been working at the meta level with the folders, with the libraries, with the instruments, but the MIDI track is the real content of the project. When you enable that, by default, there is nothing. Simply because there are sometimes too many tracks, and to avoid performance issues, in order to be able to see a MIDI track, you will need first to apply a filter. Even because here it wouldn't make any sense that you see 500 things, it's like useless. So let's start. For example, let's apply a filter on flute here, or it can be a filter on any of the object. For example, it can be on the library here, for example, this one. Okay, so here you see that what comes, it's all the MIDI tracks which are related to that specific filter. And then if now I say, okay, but I also want to filter on the oboe, you click there. Just let me open this. Now you see, I see only, and those are really the real MIDI tracks. So now what I can do is if I click on this, show only this one here, the MIDI track that is related to an oboe in the Spitfire Studio Woodwinds Professional, it comes. So that's super useful when, for example, you want to immediately locate in the template one specific instruments of one specific track. Another important thing, of course you can remove the filters from here, but another important thing is that when you click on this button here, you will see content here loaded that shows actually all the articulations which are part of that specific track, all the faders which are there, and all the microphones which are there. So that's very useful information, and this is kind of offline information. So you can you can do everything we did so far without even opening Cubase. So you can explore. Actually, you can use Flow Plus like a kind of repository to explore your libraries. And then another important thing is that when you see the articulation here, it tells you this is the number of the remote which is used in Cubase, the name of the articulations, the attribute, and actually the MIDI CC that triggers the change of articulation. But you can see that, for example, for other libraries, like for example the BBC one, if now I filter on the BBC or on the oboe, in that case it's more a case switch that is used on the expression map. So here you can really see all these details. All right, so now let's go to the third window here. So now we show the first three on top here, the folders, the libraries, the instruments, and the MIDI track. Now let's show this other one here, which is related to the contents of the selected track. So I'm just putting this alone. If now I click on this track, you can see that the name here is changing, reflecting the name of the track selected in Cubase. And I have two windows. The first one, I will put only this one for the moment. The first one is the articulations. Through this window, you will be able to switch articulations. So let's look how it works. So let's first do another things. We will go and we will activate the track in Cubase in Vienna, because as I said, so in Vienna everything is disabled by default. So you can see if now we identify the oboes at 3 here, voila, here it is disabled. So now if I click on this green button here, you will see that in Vienna it gets loaded. And if I click the red button, of course, it will be disabled. So let's load it again, and let's look inside the content of this one. So with that, when you switch articulation, you can see directly that, okay, so you can see from here, on the below, on the bottom, that it switches inside contact, but you can also see from here, from Cubase, that it switches from there. And when you select an articulation, you will see that it will appear here, and it will have all the information like it before, so the remote, the direction, the type of articulation, and the key switch that is generating that. You have options here. For example, depending on the size of your screen, you might want to have bigger or smaller things. or you might want to go to that kind of view, which is actually that's great when you are, for example, very small screen. Voila, you can put it like that, and you can switch articulation with this button here. Let's come back to the normal one, which is the grid. Okay, second, in this window, what you can do is also work with, so I'm going to remove the articulations one. Okay, so you have the quick controls, you have the microphones, and you have all the VST parameters and controllers. Let's start with the quick controls. So through that, you can see that I'm able to actually record automations. So now, if I do there, and I do right, and I start to record something, you will see that I'm just recording automation. And then, of course, if I play, this is also visible there. On the other side, you can also work with the controls here, with the microphones and the VST controls. So if I go to microphones, I can see that here there is the microphone 3.1, which is enabled. So if I do that, you can see that in Vienna the microphone is changing. And of course, if I do record, this will also be recorded, like a MIDI automation. The same is for all the VST controllers. So let's maybe record some things. Let's suppose that, yes, I'm working with the dynamics, and then I'm working with the expression, the release, the reverb, and so on. So now we stop it. You can see that all the automation, the MIDI automation, has been recorded. One great features of Flow is that you actually can have a kind of bidirectional behavior for those. So look at this. I'm going now to play, and I'm going to press this button here. And while I keep it pushed, you can see data is coming, and this is actually giving you information of the MIDI automation. That is something that you can do thanks to a trick on the MIDI sense. Just be aware that you won't be able to do that for 2 tracks at the same time. So you really need to push the button and keep it pushed and then released. Otherwise, it won't work if you have 2 tracks enabled at the same time. So say that, we have also here the possibility to have more faders in the window or less, depending on your screen. But you also can have an horizontal view where, for example, again, that is very useful when you have screens like that, which are very small. And so you want to see things this way, and maybe you want to show more things in one window. So it's completely configurable depending on your screen. So now I'm going to disable this track, and you will see that it will disappear from Vienna. Here it is. And I think now the last things to show, well, it's not really the last, but is this one about the macros. So let's keep also this one. Here you have macros window where you have 2 tabs, all tracks and selected tracks. So this means that those are macros which apply to all of them, and this, okay, the names speak on the selected tracks. So as you can see here, for example, I can click on the hide all, it will hide everything. On the one that show the content, on the one that will show everything, this one will close all the folders, and this one will open all the folders, while this one will put everything to mute and not, and so on. And the same, you have it for the selected track. So the nice things that you have to know is that all those macros which are there are just configuration files. So with some explanation that I'm going to give you in the next videos, actually you will be able to add a new tab of macros here and add whatever new macros you want. The only thing is that every macro has to be assigned to a project logical editor. So to a preset here. So you just need to build your presets, and then you have to declare the macro, which is aligned with that preset. Last, but also very important, is the ability to search. So let's put it a bit larger. So with this button here, you have search functionality. how many times you have wanted to know, for example, how many libraries you had that tremolo. Okay, so you go there and you just write tremolo. And there you go. So here you can see all the libraries with all the instruments and all the tracks and every articulation that is linked to tremolo. So for example, here you can see you have a tremolo wobbly glissando, so in this specific MIDI track, tremolo to senza vibrato, and so on. For example, here you can also hide specific groups. So for example, that you just want to see maybe not that, maybe the track and the okay, this one. So here you can see you see only the MIDI tracks and the articulation inside. Or for example, you say, do I have somewhere a piccolo trumpet? Yes, I have it, and it's part of the library Spitfire Studio Brass Professional. And whatever thing, so you might be searching for cluster. Voila, here you got every type of quarter tone cluster, marcato unison to cluster, and so on. Those are all articulations which are part. And then you can find it. In so far at this moment there is not that much interaction in this window, but in the next versions of Flow you will be able then by just clicking here to directly select the track in Cubase. I think this is really key. So that's all. I hope that you like the product. Don't hesitate to get in contact if you have any question. And whatever a suggestion also might help to make this even more performant and help to work better. We are very open to integrate new functionalities. So thanks for watching this video and see you in the next one.